Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. We are out here in the dog run and this is where I have my compost piles. So over here where that stick is and where this is my first ever compost pile. And you guys see this? This is an onion growing in my compost pile. I need to Google and research how to take care of onions. I don't know if I could. I'm sure I could eat this, but I have a little onion growing over here, and he has been neglected all winter. I just came out here to film a video. We are gardening in the winter, and not really gardening, but we had purchased some pumpkins for fall Halloween decorations, and instead of throwing those perfectly good pumpkins away, I wanted to compost them. So I have several compost piles. This is the first compost pile. This compost pile is 3 years old. I have been gardening for only 1 year, and my compost pile had 2 years for my 1 year of gardening. So 3 years of composting, 1 year of gardening, and this compost pile has gotten fairly huge. And actually, since the first year I had this compost pile, the second year I had that compost pile and this compost pile, and then over the summer, so the third year, I also created this compost pile. So this was my attempt at a hot compost pile. I wanted to have a structure. This is just a branch, and my attempt at hot composting didn't work, but I would water this, and most of this pile is grass clippings from the lawn. And at one point in the summer, this did have a somewhat mild odor, but the internal temperatures did not reach anywhere close to the 120, 170 degrees Fahrenheit internal temperatures needed to get really decadent, really rich compost. But I have learned my lesson, and this spring I do believe I will purchase a hot compost bin, or I may purchase the materials to create my own, or at an attempt to create my own, because I'm a very DIY, do-it-yourself kind of gal. And as you can see, I have grass clippings, branches, leaves, and normally I rake up the fallen leaves and I just add them to the compost pile. And during the spring, summer, and fall, or I should say spring, summer through fall, I will even water my compost pile. I will rotate, or I should say I will stir and really tend to my compost piles. But my two cold compost piles, and I also have a compost pile right here where I had put some cantaloupe, and you guys, I actually had a full-blown cantaloupe patch growing, but the nature of the dog run is not ideal for pumpkins, for squash. We do have a good amount of space, but this space does not get a lot of sun. This is more ideal for maybe spinach or lettuce, which doesn't need to be exposed to so much heat. But I have my compost piles out here, and actually I probably should have picked a better location, but this is the space I have to work with. But over here, I dug up some of my compost pile, and all my yapping, all of my beautiful worms retreated into this just mass of rich soil. But my compost pile is doing really good, and I have really rich compost. But I had dug down, and I had everything from coffee grounds, tea, bits of old eggshell. Oh, see, there's a worm right there, right? I don't want to. Right here, right there. He's right there. So I have a really good compost pile. Let's go get the pumpkins. And oh, there's another one right there. So the worms really like my cold compost, all of my compost piles. And like I said, my one compost pile, that's my attempt at a hot compost. This one did have a mild smell. That's kind of what you want to look for. if your compost has a strong smell, you know it's working. And this one had somewhat a mild odor for a few days in the hottest portion of summer. But it's too well ventilated and not protected enough, so it didn't reach the internal temperatures needed for true hot compost. But I bet you guys anything, if I dug down in there, there would be nothing but a nice little bunch of good soil. So I'm now walking over to where I have the pumpkins. We had originally purchased 5 pumpkins in my little handy dandy, you guys, I don't know who makes these little wheelbarrows. Oh wait, that's a Scott's. So a Scott's little wagon wheelbarrow. This thing is the most incredible little around the yard. If you have projects, yard maintenance, anything you want to do around the yard, I often will tote everything and anything from my shovels, my gloves, my little hand shovels, my rakes, and now my pumpkins. Alright guys, so we're here at the dog run. This is about as far as I can go with my little wagon. And taking the first pumpkin that we're going to compost, this guy has been battered and bruised and through a lot. Obviously when Halloween came around, I think he got sat on, punched, kicked, something. So he is in the worst shape. Let's grab this guy up. And ooh, there's a soft spot under, ooh. So coming over, and I already have a little hole dug. Getting my shovel. So I don't want to just plop that there and just cover it up with the dirt. That would be a mistake. So using my shovel, I am attempting to chop this into teeny tiny pieces. I will not bore you guys filming the entire thing of me trying to cut this up into smaller pieces, apart from me describing to you the process of preparing the pumpkin now that it's in the compost pile. But I'm going to finish slicing and dicing this with my shovel, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so after composting the first pumpkin, I was actually extremely unhappy with the process. Even though I was filming and doing a fairly just okay job of chopping up that pumpkin, I actually find this to be maybe not an ideal method. So this one is in a lot better shape, and just using one hand to attempt to puncture the pumpkin and the other to film, and my brain to narrate, this is actually going worse than the first time. And so the problem I had with the first pumpkin was, even though I was consistently chopping, the chops were too big. I'm almost wondering if I should, but I don't have a large blender, and plus most of these are dirty and awful. But I'm wondering if I should go find a hammer, but I don't see how a hammer could do better than a shovel. But my point is, this is actually really hard work. Finally, okay, using the shovel almost as an axe. Here we go. Now I can slice through, but this is going to be a long, tedious job. I'm running low on battery. I'm going to go think about the strategy I've been using and potentially other strategies, because I'm actually wondering if I should go get a large knife and just maybe manually cut them down, because the very random choppings of my shovel are resulting in more hard work in the long run. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go get a knife and just slice these up right here. And then once I have consistent long strips, maybe then I will smash them to bits and pieces with the shovel. But using the shovel to mash up the pumpkin in its entirety is a long, strenuous process that is exhausting me. And I'm only 1 pumpkin down and 3 pumpkins to go. So I need to reevaluate. I will be right back.